January was a very, very long month, and I read a lot more than I thought I would have. So let's talk about it. So welcome to my January wrap up. I'm Wally. Welcome to Wolfgate Entertainment. Um, Before we get started, I want to point everyone to a brand new series on my channel called From Nameless to Kind of Famous. It's a show where I interview some internet famous people, but if you were to go talk to someone on the street, they would not exactly know who they are. Episode 1 is up right now. I'm trying to book episode 2 for next month. It's gonna be a monthly thing. At first, I thought it was gonna be bi-weekly, and then I couldn't get anyone for the second episode in January, so I'm hoping for mid-February for that release. But without further ado, let's get into my wrap-up. Um, First book I read was actually kind of a hybrid situation. I did part. I did. I read it along with the audiobook, so I had the physical copy and I had the audiobook, and that was Thrawn Treason. I actually really really like this book. I really like the dynamic between, or the continued dynamic between Aralani and Thrawn, and I like that Eli Vanto came back. Um, and then I like how it tied into Rebels. Like this is like in between a couple. I think it's like right in between arcs for Rebels. It's right before the last one happens. I really enjoy this book. I don't get the hate for this book, quite frankly, but I enjoyed it a lot. And so now I'm through all 6 Thrawn books, and I kind of can't wait for Ahsoka, which is supposedly the next time he's supposed to show up. So there's that. Next book I read, which was a physical book, was Fallen Star. This if you have not read the High Republic series yet, I highly recommend that you do it. It's incredible, and this book is it's Claudia Gray, man. I mean, it was really really good. It's a slow burn, but damn, there's some shit happens in this book, and this is the last adult book in this phase, and they just announced the next phase will be, I think, 150 years before this era, so about 350 years before episode 1, and yeah, so great book. Again, if you have not started the High Republic series, I highly recommend you do so. The next book I read, it was a physical book. I read this in about a day, not even a couple hours. It's called a graphic novel. That's what they call it. It's kind of like an trade hardback, I guess. I don't know. It's a V.E. Schwab Extraordinary. It's like it's part of the villain series, like number 1.5 or whatever. It takes place between this takes place between Vicious and Vengeful. I was gonna read Vengeful this month, but I decided not to. I might get to it eventually. But this was good. Not one of my favorites. I mean, it was fine. It was really good. I enjoyed the art in it a lot. Just wanna if you want to take a look at some of the art that was in the book, it was good. I highly recommend, especially if you've read the villain's duology. This adds a little bit to the story. I don't know if it adds a ton, but I think it adds a little bit of it to it. And then finally, my last physical book was Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park. This is already a contender for Book of the Year. This was so good. But I will say, right immediately after I finished this book, I went and I watched the movie. I finished this on Friday, which was the 28th. Uh, Not a fan of the movie anymore. It's a really good movie. It's just it doesn't follow this very well, and there's a lot of plot points that are missing in the book that make the book really good. And the movie just kind of meh, to be honest. I don't know. The movie, once you read the book, the movie's not as good, to be honest. But I really love this book. I got Lost World not too long ago, and I'm very excited to read that. Might make that a March thing. We'll find out. Now on the audiobooks, like I said, I kind of did a hybrid thing with Thrawn Treason. But the next audiobook I read was, it's going to appear here apparently, is The Book of Two Ways by Jodi Picoult. My first book I've ever read by her. My friend Caitlin, at Caitlin Sue on TikTok and Instagram, I think. She told me a couple months ago about this book, or about this author. And I saw the book online. I was kind of looking for something down to earth. I was in the middle of Fallen Stars, so I was like, you know what? Maybe it's something a little bit more down to earth. there's some elements of romance in this book. There's lots of sex. I was not prepared for that. But anyway, I enjoyed the book. It was interesting, kind of a bit of. They added some sci-fi elements into it. They added some fantastical parts of it to it. There's a lot of historical stuff in it. It is a heavy book. You have to be able to know to understand physics at least a fundamental level because they go deep into the physics in this book. Egyptology is really heavily. It's very important to the story, and they go into heavy detail about it in the book. Other than that, I think if you can hang with the book, I think you're probably pretty. You're gonna enjoy the book pretty well. The characters were good. I did not. The main character was kind of unlikable, but I think that was kind of the point. I don't know. I didn't care for the main character, but at the end, I don't know. I have some interesting feelings about this book, but I overall enjoyed it. And then the next book I attempted was That Hideous Strength by C.S. Lewis, the last book in the space trilogy. I think that's what it's called. I got about 25% of the way through it and found it extremely boring, and none of the same characters were in it, and I'm sure they would have explained why later on. Didn't care enough to stick around. And at the beginning of the book, they prefaced it with, you can read this book without having to read the first two books. It's like, then why? I don't know. I like the first book in that series the most. The second one was confusing as shit, and the third one is fine. I mean, no, it wasn't fine. I stopped reading it. It's not like the other two. And there's the main character is mentioned, I think, once early on in the book. So, whatever. And there wasn't enough sci-fi for me in it. It was more. I don't know. It was just weird. The next one I read was In 5 Years by Rebecca Serrell. Again, another one I just wanted something down to earth, and I found this book, and it was like, okay. Oh, and it's short. Good. I really don't know what... I know it's a contemporary book. I wouldn't call it a romance. It got dark fast. I really enjoyed the book, though. Again, it's one of those books I didn't expect to like, but I ended up enjoying it a lot. Not much I can say. It's a short book, and it's kind of hard to spoil, but I will be reading her next book. I think it's called Italian Summer. And I can't wait for that to come out, see what that's about. I think I'm going to read her book, Dinner for... The Dinner... I don't remember. It's another one of her adult books. I heard one of her Rebecca Serrell's books, or book series, her YA book series, was made into a TV show, I believe, on Freeform. I don't plan on reading those. I'm not the biggest YA fan unless it's coming from Star Wars. So, yeah. And then finally, I started Jade War. I'm about 16% into it. I'm not that far into it yet, so that'll carry over to next month. But, yeah, overall, I think it was a pretty good reading month. I read 6 books, 3 physical, 3 audiobooks, or like 3.5 physical, 2.5 audiobooks, because, like I said, I read this kind of hybrid. But yeah, if you guys have any recommendations, if you guys want to know more about these books, drop a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, if you guys have read these books. Book suggestions are always useful, especially Jodi Picoult. Definitely drop some recommendations for her down below, and I will be seeing you guys in the next video. Peace out.